Attivo già? Sì. Buongiorno, per favore se
Good morning. If you can just take your seat and we can start. So welcome back and also welcome to those who joined us today. First of all, I would like to start renewing my thanks to the organizer, the Città Metropolitana di Roma Capitale and the University of Lublin. WSEI, and I would like to thank the interpreters who were exceptional yesterday. Thank you very much, the interpreters. Thank you, because we had a very long day. I would like to help all the personnel, the staff that helped us, both technicians and clerical staff, hostess, etc. So always smiling. Thank you from the deep of my heart. So we start the link with the European Commission. We have Anna Barbieri from the European Commission. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Who is the team leader for apprenticeship and Erasmus training of DG Employment. So I give her the floor. The Deputy Mayor for Training, School Buildings and Sport of the Metropolitan City of Rome, Daniele Parrucci, is given the floor to just kick off. Then Mr. Carter will take the floor. And at 10 we will have Mrs. Barbieri. No, I forgot. We have the pro-rector of the Lublin University. So good day, everyone. And first of all, thank you for coming. For coming back today, I would like to thank the organizers and all the guests. As Metropolitan City of Rome, capital city, we have been working the last 12 months on professional training after and following an agreement we signed with the region in 2022, and we signed a convention, an agreement, and the region switched all the sector to the Metropolitan City of Rome for training, vocational trade, etc. So on the basis of this agreement, we succeeded in defining all the criteria that we consider important, thanks to Mr. Carta, our director, and all the officials and personnel. So we set the criteria to revamp public training. So I mean both data and also economic criteria and parameter, because in the last 15 years, the sector had very little resources. There were a lot of cuts in their budget, and we had to revamp the sector. We had a strong political support by our mayor, Gualtieri, and our objective was to reduce dropouts. The high number of dropouts in the city of Rome and in the 120 municipality that we represent in Metropolitan City, and we relaunched the public role of the government, signing agreement with national and international partners, and signing agreements with them, studying together with them the setting up of labs where companies want to invest in technologies that they consider essential to train and educate children or youngsters in the module 3+1, and then place them in the labor market. So we want to promote private and public sector. We want to help and support youngsters in a critical area like Municipality number 6 or number 10, like Bella Monica, that are very difficult suburbs, and try to integrate them in the labor market. One of the most prestigious agreement, and we have the partner here with us, is an agreement that we signed in July with Leonardo. We have started cyber security course at a hub, and we have implemented these courses to train teenagers and then integrate them in the labor market according to the criteria set by the company. We signed other agreements last month before summer. We signed a very important agreement with other municipality entities, utilities, AMA and ACEA. AMA is for waste disposal, and ACEA is for water and energy. So in 2025, we will also set up specific courses and labs for technologies needed in that sector, also for training staff for these two companies. What is peculiar about these agreements is that we set up an ad hoc lab together with the partnering companies in order to train the trainees according to the specific criteria set by the companies, according to their specific needs. And we have a sort of sandwich course, a dual system, so training at school level and apprenticeship at company level, so that teenagers can really get into contact with the labor market realities. We are very confident in this project. We're working together with our mayor, Mr. Gualtieri. We not only signed an agreement with the region, but we are trying to sign an agreement also with the Municipality of Rome. And therefore, the single pole for public training should also belong to the Metropolitan city. We signed agreement with the Lazio region. We will try and put together all the CFP in Rome, and we can run the courses for the Metropolitan city and for the 120 municipalities. So thank you for this great opportunity, and I give the floor to our director, Stefano Carta. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone, to all those present on the second day of proceedings that fits into a broader framework of a European partnership, a very important one. So this is a moment for reflection, and today we'll be focusing on vocational training in particular, and how the Metropolitan City of Rome Capital sees this or organizes this function, which fits into our organization. So there are some keywords which I'd like to draw your attention to, namely the European Year of Skills, green transition, digital transition, matching demand and supply of jobs, and quality of the public role in fulfilling these functions. These are all pretty ambitious challenges because, as our council and delegate has already stressed, we are intervening in an area that isn't that easy, where there was also some uncertainty from a regulatory point of view. This difficulty has been overcome at the beginning of the term of office of the council. and the interests mentioned by the delegate and the mayor, Gualtieri. So we were able to establish a framework within which we can operate and carry out our tasks, and hence a process that has been initiated. And since, although it is pretty fresh and new, because it's not even 1 year since this agreement has been signed, despite this, however, many positive actions have been put in place aimed at concretely implementing and promoting and fostering the promotion of this and the management of this. And obviously, we look at the various aspects. First of all, we have to find both funds and human resources. We need to establish the places, and this can brings us back to what we were saying yesterday. We need to make sure that workplaces and educational places are places which have a human dimension. So not only must they fulfill regulatory requirements, but they have to be places which can favor learning and personal and professional growth. And within these containers, within which we have initiated some process to obviously upgrade these places and to favor a different perception of these places. The starting situation is pretty intricate and complicated. The goal is to then develop functions. And in terms of functions, the Metropolitan City of Rome capital, besides dealing with indirect training, i.e. coordination and control of other training institutions present in our territory, as I was saying, it has the ambition of playing a key role as a protagonist in the public vocational training district. And so some agreements have been sealed, agreements have been formalized amongst various institutions, and namely the main businesses present here, Leonardo, for example, represented by Mrs. Galasso, and we'd like to thank them for the effort made, and also the utilities and very attractive sectors from an employment perspective, where we had to obviously define educational process that could fulfill the needs, the requirements of businesses regarding entry into the labor world, but that could also respect the key principles of digital transformation and green transition. And in this context, we have our cooperation with Leonardo, and this is a great satisfaction. And we started first vocational training course for minors, i.e. people, for youths aged between 14 and 17. So they still don't have a high level of skills, but for them we have created ad hoc vocational training courses that will help them gain the skills needed to then find employment in companies. And this was a major success. And so this partnership is a very strong one, and it's already producing excellent results. So besides the actions undertaken in the field of direct vocational training, the Metropolitan City of Rome capital also promotes through these courses, and then there will be other speakers who will focus on the more critical aspects through the system of dual learning, where we have education, training being carried out within a training center and training within business of the sponsor companies that are our reference partners, where students will be able to learn skills and where they may eventually find a job. Besides this, I'd like to give some broader information. The goal is to favor good quality training, to favor entry into the labour market. The goal is not to produce certificates, but rather jobs, i.e. youth who, after having completed their training, can find a job. And the data that we have is quite interesting because even in a system that is quite a complex one, more and more youths are signing labor contracts or apprenticeship contracts whilst they are being trained, and this is a major success. So we don't have to wait for the training cycle to be complete to obviously allow them to get a job. And so within the framework of this organization, another important area is ITS, and this is not the main topic of our attention, but this too is something that we have been following very carefully. So he's referring to vocational training schools, and again, this is addressed to people who otherwise would be at risk of dropouts, and so they could be youths who have perhaps tried some other type of education but are not interested, or other people who haven't got a job yet. And an effort has been made, a huge effort has been made. We have doubled the number of vocational schools, and this to show the attention and the importance that these schools may have and should have in a global approach to vocational training within the framework of the initiatives of the Metropolitan City within the European Year of Skills. Thank you. Thank you to our director, Stefano Carta, and I'd like to advantage to thank all the staff of the director, without whom we wouldn't be at this stage and without whom we wouldn't have been able to accomplish this major work, which we intend to invest more and more in. And one last thing, because I had forgotten to mention this before, not only reboosting vocational training and improving the quality of the services provided, but above all, the safety of our vocational training centers. In the agreement signed with the Lazio region, the Metropolitan City of Rome has established parameters for ordinary and extraordinary maintenance of some of the buildings that unfortunately were in very precarious conditions, and above all, there were great difficulties in terms of safety. So we'll be obviously covering the necessary expenses, and we're ready to provide advance funding for extraordinary maintenance in agreement with the region. So quality and revamping vocational training, but also providing a safe place for students where to be trained. So I'd like to thank Dr. Carta, and I give the floor to Anna Barbieri of the European Commission.
Good day, everyone. I would like to greet you from Brussels. Can you hear me loud and clear? I keep going. I would like to thank you for inviting me to this event on human resources center processing sensitivity, and for twinning this event with the European Year of Skills. I will speak about this more specifically, and I will try and continue along what you said, but I would like to speak about the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, and Rome Metropolitan City is a partner. I would like to thank the Metropolitan City of Rome for what you have done and what you have explained before I took the floor. Why do we have a European Year for Skills? We are in a crucial moment. The labor market is undergoing great changes under the green and digital transition that require new profile, a new professional profile, new employment, and new skills for the existing employment jobs that are transforming. And at the same time, we have a demographic trend that is stagnating, if it's not turning negative. And 65% of SMEs declare that the lack of skills and skilled personnel is somehow stopping their growth or slowing it down. It is therefore very important to requalify the working population in Europe massively and to improve everyone's skills. The European Union needs technical skills for the digital transition and for green transition. I just give you the example of a panel, solar panel installer, a heat pump installer, tube welders, where they have to place cables and fibers for digital transition. That is why we have organized the European Year of Skills that will last till May 2024. The European Year of Skills has different goals and purposes. It wants to increase investments and resources, both at public and private level, in order to promote better skills of our staff and guarantee that skills that are developed are relevant, that is to say, are those necessary for SMEs and for the labor market, and also reconcile personal needs with market labor needs. And therefore, we have to guarantee that everyone participates in the labor market. Also those who, as somebody said before, those that are further away from market labor, MIPS needs, and that is to say, neither in training nor at work, and also women who in certain countries like Europe, like Italy, are not very much involved in the labor market. We need more skills, but we see that the participation in education in Europe is quite low. 37% of adults participate in education program, but till 2030 we need to increase it and bring it to 60%. So we need 60% of adults participating in education courses. And companies have to be committed to recruit and train the appropriate skilled personnel. We need human resources policies that are diversified, more inclusive, and we need to redesign and rethink workspaces in order to promote cooperation, collaboration, and first and foremost, learning. And these are the topics that we have been discussing yesterday and today in your workshop and your conference. And in order to take up these challenges, we have to create partnerships between and amongst the different stakeholders. Public authorities, entrepreneurs, professionals, vocational and professional training entities. And I would like to switch to the second topic, that is to say, European Alliance for apprenticeships, which is in between training and work. This is something, this alliance was set up in 2013 to promote the quality of apprenticeship and create make it more attractive and increase the number of courses offered, sandwich courses, the dual system that was discussed. The members of the alliance can benefit from opportunities of networking, exchange of good practices. They can access concrete resources to improve apprenticeship. At the moment, we have more than 400 members, public, private organization, small and medium companies, and we have also 14 national authorities coming from European countries that are member of the European Alliance for Apprenticeship. So far, the members of the Alliance offered more than 1,300,000 opportunities for apprenticeship. Becoming member is quite easy and is free of charge. Just fill out the online form and commit yourself to support the goals of the Alliance. And therefore, I would like to invite all the organization attending this conference to become member, as the Metropolitan City of Rome already did. So you're all welcome. Amongst the members, we have companies like LL Alliance, Confindustria, Confartigianato, the region of Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna, Veneto, but also professional training courses of different size, small, big, and medium, all over Italy, and also some representative of trade unions. I would like to conclude by saying that apprenticeship is a concrete response to companies' needs, their need to have qualified personnel, and trainees can really be a great opportunity for the training companies. Thank you for your kind attention.
So let's thank Mrs. Barbieri very much. And to this regard, I'd like to inform you that on the 25th of October, we'll be at the Pertini School in Zagarolo, where we'll be presenting the project Europe in Common that was funded with funds of the Metropolitan City of Rome. And during this day, we'll be illustrating all the opportunities offered by the European Union to our youth. At this point, I'd give the floor immediately to the Pro-Rector of the University of Lublin, Professor Bolovic. Thank you. Good morning to everyone.
University, I'd like to welcome all partners, participants, and all friends on our sensitive career management and sensitive workplace design project. As a leader of this project, it's a great honor for us to cooperate with all partners, all participants. So also congratulations for Metropolitan City of Rome for such perfect organization and interesting program of this conference. All the best to you. Of course, we believe that final conclusions of this conference and practical results of the conference will be inspiration for all of us in process of creating or improving more sustainable and people-friendly environment in all dimensions. So all the best for all of you. Warm greetings from Poland, especially from Lublin. Thank you so much.
Facciamo un rapido cambio di tavolo.
Well, therefore, thank the delegate of the mayor, Mr. Paruccia, our director, Stefano Carta, and the pro-rector of the University of Lublin. I'd like to move on to the first panel with Mrs. Galasso and Mr. Tallarico. If you can kindly stop. The European Commission, Mrs. Barbieri, will be following us to follow this first panel, and we'd like to thank her for this, and also for the comment and contribution that she will be able to give us at the end of the presentations. Thank you.
Allora, sì, mezz'ora? Tra tutte e due, sì. Allora, partiamo subito con...
Let's get started right away with Mrs. Galasso, who is Head of Education and People Development at Leonardo. And she will be followed by Mr. Talarico, who is team leader for vocational training at the Metropolitan City of Rome. And at the end, I'll leave some time for debate or question and answers, both on the part of Mrs. Barbieri and the audience. Hello and good morning. My name is Susie Galasso, and I'm the Head of Education and Development at Leonardo. Leonardo is a corporation that deals with aerospace. There you have almost 51,000 staff members distributed, mostly in Italy, 60% in Italy, but 40% on other markets that we consider to be domestic, namely the UK, US, and Poland. 5 divisions that belong to the Leonardo Group of cybersecurity, namely aerostructures, aircraft, helicopters, and electronic components, which includes part of the sector relating to space, which is one of the most evolving sectors for us, the most widely developed sector. It's a sector that we look at with great interest because the advent of private entrepreneurs who have entered this market have made Leonardo and other businesses operating in the space field have made us think that, as I was saying, that we need to accelerate with the development of skills. I would like to thank you, and in particular the colleagues of the Metropolitan City of Rome, with whom we have established cooperation, which has been very easy. It has been a process that has quickly allowed us to seal a deal which is absolutely consistent with what Leonardo is doing by trying to bring the world of education closer to Leonardo. Today, we operate in the field of human resources through various tools. Now, firstly, to obviously deal with the hunting for young talents and specific job profiles for our sector, we have started to diversify our recruitment processes. We rely on different channels, each of which has to try and reach the various sector targets. This means that we are involved in a very busy schedule of career days throughout the year, and besides these career days, we also have some challenges. They're called hackathons, that help attract young talents by measuring them against purely technological skills. This means that besides standard recruitment processes, we are putting in place a number of networks that have to work through technological communities that also help us identify and find the right profiles that are necessary for the requirements. We have a growing amount of headhunting in sectors that are strategic for Leonardo, and I'm referring to skills relating to autonomous systems, big data, robotics, cybersecurity, or artificial intelligence. For us, these are extremely important sectors because they are cross-sectoral to all the products Leonardo is currently developing. Therefore, in order to tackle these criticalities, which on the one hand are important because they see, we've seen that many of the skills of our staff are becoming obsolete and very quickly too. And also we have to, on the other hand, we have to find profiles that are suited to the system. So besides diversifying our recruitment channels, we are investing more and more on a number of initiatives, training initiatives to obviously provide guidance to our staff and obviously fuel the skills we need now. The key point of this activity has been the implementation of a vocational system within Leonardo. We have developed, in other words, a system that maps over 500 roles, over 750 skills, which are actually skills that are looking ahead towards the future. And we're doing this across our 51,000 staff members, and this allows us to cross-data using a data-driven approach. We see what the results of these in-house research is, and then we can initiate vocational training and development initiatives. So this is the view from within. The view from without is to create partnerships with training and education institutions. We have about 90 partnerships with Italian universities, research centers, schools, and vocational training schools. And that is why I was saying that our collaboration with the Metropolitan City of Rome is going in this direction. With the vocational schools, we have 7 such schools. We have 52 production plants from north to south, and we are present in vocational schools to try and train individuals, not just in the field of new technologies, but I'd like to pick up on what Mrs. Barbieri was saying earlier, but also job profiles that are tied to manufacturing engineering or production engineering and the program management. We obviously participate with 50% of lessons and teaching hours, and also we obviously contribute to and direct the study plans. We have 2 very important initiatives that are about to be kicked off. For the first one is an optronic lab tied to vocational schools at our site in Campi Bisenzio in Tuscany. This means that we have given the opportunity to a vocational school to create a lab within our plant of optomechanics and optoelectronic lab. This means that students will come to study there, but at the vocational school, but 50% of their teaching hours, their learning hours, will be devoted to lab activities. Our site in Campo Bisenzio has an area dedicated to space activities, and this therefore helps us to give practical meaning to the things that are done. We have, thanks to the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we have had an investment that has helped us create a lab with the most pioneering equipment in this field. And so for these youths, it will surely be an extraordinary experience. The other initiative that I would like to refer to is the plant in Cisterna di Latina here in Lazio, where we will be initiating a dual learning experience. As of October, there are some resources that will be working by means of a contract at the Latina plant, so alternating practical activities with education. And amongst our many initiatives, another one that was started 2 years ago and that has proven to be very, very successful is the following. We have reached an agreement with the school, the Matteucci School, for a digital secondary school. It's the first digital secondary school. We have the first class that started 2 years ago, and we had many students who wanted to enroll, and we have actually doubled the number of classes. And again, colleagues coming from all over Italy, especially as far as artificial intelligence experts are concerned, are present in class, and also to train teachers, because obviously all study plans had to be adapted to the language of new technologies. And I'm saying this because it's extremely important to work side by side with teachers in order to train them. That's a very important aspect, because if the teachers aren't motivated enough about these initiatives, then the efficacy of our initiatives will be perhaps a bit complicated. Even just accepting young engineers who are working side by side with teachers who've had a long-standing career, to teach them new methodologies also. So not just contents, but also a new communication language, because this is surely one of the fundamental aspects. We always look for DNA within our DNA. So even within a vocational training, we try new teaching methods, but not just based on our teachers, but also prompted from the new generations. And this we're doing through a number of initiatives that we've been pursuing for some years, of obviously raising awareness about technology. We have trained some role models, so some girls, young girls, but talented, who have had success stories in our company and who talk about their experience at schools, middle schools and secondary schools. We started with secondary schools. Now we've also included middle schools. I hope to include primary schools, because choices based on prejudice and beliefs regarding some aspects have to be eradicated very at an early age. And this is an experience that gives a lot to our young women and helps also helps better position what the labor world requires today. Another important project that we've been pursuing for a couple of years, and you may have heard about, is School for Life. And again, it's to fight school dropouts. We have some mentors. We have teachers by profession who, regarding innovation, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence, go to schools to talk about and have some free spaces to present these topics. And this is something that we just don't do with youth alone. In some schools, we also try and help open up desks for families. Often, in the case of middle schools, the decision also involves families, and therefore we try and open up a dialogue, a direct dialogue with families. This is the world that concerns us. So we're very committed. I won't hide that very often we have difficulty in distracting our colleagues from our business to do all this, because the hours of training in external initiatives that, however, help us to respond to that need. We hope that in the next 5 years, we hope not only to be able to increase the number of female engineers, because on the market they aren't available, because 18 or 20% of girls who graduated in STEM subjects are stolen from competitors. So in order to get to this is to develop activities that can better direct young boys and young girls, and this is absolutely essential for us. And as I was saying, against this backdrop, when we were called by the Metropolitan City of Rome capital, for us this project fitted perfectly well within the framework of our initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thank you also because you touched upon 3 themes that are very important. One is learning external disciplines. I really appreciate what you said. I teach
fin dalla scuola primaria.
Statistics, and statistics is very important from primary schools, and there is a researcher that is there to promote interest in scientific disciplines from maternal schools, maths, just to give you an example. And another aspect that is under-evaluated also, and especially in public sector, is not only being focused on contents, but also focused on processes and methodologies, as you rightly said, and relationships. And this is a particularly important aspect. And last but not least, you went back to a topic we discussed yesterday, that is to say, supporting and trying to foster and nourish weak links, because a company like Leonardo that works in aerospace, that is particularly important in our metropolitan area. Why should Leonardo be interested in nourishing the relationship with families, which are the weak links, the weak networks, which enable us to really make a difference? So thank you for your contribution. And I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Barbieri, but first I would like to say what Città Metropolitana is doing together with Leonardo, and so I give the floor to Mario Cusmai. Good day. I'm Mario Dallarico. I am in charge of coordinating training education for the Metropolitan City of Rome, together with a small number of staff members. We are not at year 0. We started in 2017 with the dual system, and we were quite bold and courageous. We were the first public entity to use the dual system with children coming out of middle schools, that is to say, aged 14, 17 years. And we started immediately considering a model that included 2 aspects, i.e., helping in constructing a personality, That is to say, developing not only technical skills, but human skills, the person, because these are very young children that, of course, need to make personal choices. And then also offering a type of education that meets the need or the needs of companies. So from the beginning, very beginning of our experience, we contacted companies and asked them what they wanted. How should we forge education? Because education comes top down. It is decided at regional level, and we can't change very much unless we invent something special. What I want to say is that the first course we organized was a course for mechanics, but actually companies wanted welders. So we had to somehow change the course. We said some lies, let's put it this way. So subaqueous welders was what they needed. They earn 5,000 euro a month, and it was rather attractive, and companies didn't find any. So we were working together with companies working in the ports around all around the city of Rome, particularly Civitavecchia, and they lacked skilled personnel. Well, this is a course which lasts 3 years, 1,020 hours per year, so a total of 3,060 hours. The first qualification is operator, then there is a fourth year, 990 hours, and you become a technician. A technician is the one who can sign for his or her activities. We have thermohydraulic technicians that have to certify what they do. And we are prompting children to join our courses, but they are very popular. And over these years, the Metropolitan City of Rome is signing some agreements. Unfortunately, we do not have a national rule. We have a framework rule, but we do not have national protocols. And so we have to build them at your school level. And those who do not enter the labor market via short-term contract or apprenticeship contract have to work as self-employed people or become entrepreneurs themselves, as is happening in most of the cases. However, we sign agreement, and starting from year 3 or year 4, they can proceed to year 4 or 5 and further develop their skills. Of course, the skills are very sectorial, as you can understand, and this is how we provide the dual system training. You see in orange professional skills, and this is what is developed together with the company. The first year is a special year because it's a year in which we get to know the youngster know the training course, and we involve companies. Year 2 and 3 are years in which alternance, so sandwich courses, and internship are organized in such a way that we can guarantee a better mix. Youngsters know the companies better, companies know youngsters better, and we confirm their choice because they come and join us when they're quite young, they're 14. And later on, when they grow, they can decide whether they want to switch. And this is important. And the last year is a year that is quite important because they have more connection with the company. I show you the case of Leonardo. I'm sorry if you can't read, it's too tiny. The font is too tiny. But this is a project that we started with Leonardo. This is the first year. What you see in orange, and you see the topics sign here, and this is the first year. We meet the company, we discuss all the problems, and there was the first meeting where our trainees were really very much intrigued. We met at the Nuvola, which is a building in EUR here in Rome, and our youngsters understood, because this was repeated over and over, that this training was offering them a great opportunity in terms of labor market and professionalism. They can really further develop their professionalism, and this is something that we organize together with them. We are all involved. And as Metropolitan City of Rome, we worked on something I will explain later on. That is to say, the role of tutors, because tutors are not those who check whether the attendee is there or not, but it's someone who is working together with the company tutors to develop an individual training course, training plan. This is what we have been doing. And there is not a program for everyone, but each one has its own, his or her own program, because there are new things.
Ciò che l'azienda non offre.
And we can offer them training in labs or training with other companies. But this cannot be possible for Leonardo, because Leonardo is providing a 360-degree skill scenario. And I would like to thank also the AMA friends. AMA is a company in charge of urban waste disposal in Italy. And what is important is having a simulated company. What is simulated company? It's a company that is constructed within the training entity with the support of the actual companies. In other words, it's a national network. It's not only us, but it's a national network of simulated companies and meet within a portal and create commercial exchanges that are necessary. So just an example is a training course we organized in 2017 for electricians, and they set up their company. They clocked in the morning. They had 90,000 euros as initial fund to work, and the working hours were translated into pays, and each one had different skills and responsibility within the company. And this lasted 400 hours for a whole year. And at the end, we attended the international fair, and we were ranking second. We ranked second. So the ranking was based on the ability to create a turnover, let's say. These youngsters are working, and most of them have their own firm. And they now install solar panel, thermal panels, and they are doing fine. And they asked me to give them the names of apprentices that are now in training, because they need help. They want to hire them. So it's working quite well.
Quello verde vi fa capire quanto.
So you can understand that the dual system, compared to normal training or government public schools, state schools, are a different system, because here we really have a close relationship between school and company, and the green columns represent the hours spent at company level. And these are trainees that are signed apprenticeship contract, and this is
nel settore alberghiero sono stati i ragazzi sono.
And this is in a catering industry, hotels, and you can see some of these youngsters. So this is something that developed over the years, and we were very happy. Okay, let's go back to the importance of tutors. So the first year and during the whole course, we set up staff with tutors, facilitators, and other professionals who help and support these kids. Tutors are essential also in constructing the training course. They discuss with the company the needs in order to set up the training curriculum, and check how things evolve on the go. They discuss it with companies, they discuss it with the attendees, and they try to solve all the problems that might arise, because you can understand the problem of going from school to work. I'm smiling because I asked the youngsters to come dressed well. One came with dressed in shorts, another with an overall. And I was thinking, okay, we will go to Leonardo and we will see a beautiful headquarters of Leonardo. Their showrooms, actually, not the headquarters, sorry. And I think that they will understand how important it is to be dressed well. Because this is something that means that they grow. They understand how to adjust to the labor market. It's very important to present oneself well, to be dressed appropriately. So thank you.
Okay, we're running a bit late, but I'd like to ask Mrs. Barbieri if she wants to share any final conclusions or thoughts. Yes, thank you very much. A few comments. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Tallarico, firstly, for the explanations he provided regarding the system that you have put in place in your territory, because it's an example of what I was saying before about the fact that apprenticeships and the dual system is an effective response for businesses that seek given skills and professions, but an apprenticeship, as Mr. Talarico said, is a very valid proposal for youth because it allows them to acquire technical skills as well as broader personal skills and helps them acquire higher level qualifications. So thank you very much for the work you're carrying out. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Galasso for Leonardo's commitment in the training of teachers and in the training hours that the staff provides for education and training. I really hope that you can be an example for other businesses too, because it's very important to convey this message that participating in the training of youths and training your own staff is an element of great competitiveness. It's also a civic responsibility, but also an element that allows you to be increasingly competitive over other organizations. Then, regarding what Mrs. Galasso said about gender issues, I agree entirely. Technological, mathematical, and scientific skills are the ones that will drive both the digital and green transition. And at European level, we're very sensitive to this issue because we've seen that women are far less represented in these sectors of training, and this has repercussions on the labor world, to the world of labor. So through Erasmus Plus, we have an initiative in the 2024 call. There will be funds for projects to fight gender stereotypes and these sort of issues and attract more women to digital skills and green skills. And as far as green skills are concerned, I'm referring to clean technology and carbon neutrality. And then as a last point, as far as I'm concerned at least, I would just like to thank you very much for this information and the work you're carrying out, because it's very much in line with the goals of the European Year of Skills and the challenges I mentioned, which we're trying to tackle at European level too. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for the continuation of your proceedings.
Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you, because she summed up the main elements of this initial conversation of today's proceedings. Mrs. Barbieri, if you allow me, I would like to invite Leonardo to become member of the European Alliance for apprenticeships, because I think it can really contribute to the network, which is a very active network. The European Commission offers participants the opportunity to really generate new ideas, projects, through an ongoing exchange, face-to-face. The Alliance has never stopped, even in the most difficult times of the COVID pandemic. Actually, that was a particularly intense period because the network and the European Commission felt the need not to interrupt this opportunity for youth, and also, as she stressed, for trainers, for businesses and training schools. So it was a very important moment of great growth and innovation for the entire network. So please, I mean, it would really be a great contribution. Thank you very much. So we're going to now have a switch of panelists, and in doing so, I'd like to announce that This partnership is trying to bring targeted guidance for people with the help of the Lublin University, for people, as I was saying, who have differences or are different in terms of temperamental traits, and we know only too well, and this was described yesterday, that temperamental traits come into play both in learning dynamics and also on the workplace. So I'm going to leave the table so that these topics can be tackled. I leave it to Federica Mura, RAI author and director, who will moderate the panel, and the three panelists, whom I will leave to Federica to introduce. Just one housekeeping message. We're running a little late, so we'll be ending 10 minutes later. We'll try and make up for the slight delay. We'll have a shorter break.
Buongiorno.
Good morning. My name is Federica Mura. As has already been said, I've been working for 20 years in RAI behind the cameras, and I have a great passion for highly sensitive people. Perhaps sailing would have been better as a passion, maybe, but with on-board highly sensitive people, it's better. Why do I like them so much? Because processing the information differently, the information coming from outside, HSPs reason outside the box. They see the world from a different perspective, and so they can challenge rules that don't make sense. So they have unusual vision, so they're powerful, but HSPs in everyday life, even though they could be leaders at work in the case of emergency, I'm thinking about the pandemic and the climate emergency too, but in everyday life they have some obstacles, and women too are faced with obstacles, and mothers and highly sensitive children have some obstacles. So let's imagine we're all these things at the same time. Women, mothers, and highly sensitive and living in a foreign country. I don't think there's any literature in this field, but the next study we'll be listening to touches on this topic. So from the University of Girona, I'd like to introduce Professor Carina Lagarigue.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not a professor. I'm a psychologist. And well, since she introduced sensitivity in such a beautiful way, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm going to ask you all to stand up, because I do think that we kind of forget the human we are, and we're kind of here trying to listen to things, right? But I can see many of us are on our phones, and we're kind of not here really. We're here, but we're elsewhere at the same time. So I wanted to kind of drag your attention in the difficulties of transitions, right? This is everything that I'm going to be talking about today, but it was beautiful that the introduction was kind of pointing at the positive side of it, because we do kind of give you the opportunity to lift up your arms and breathe and be here with us today. Thank you. So I'm here to kind of talk about how important it is to embrace sensitivity for adjustment. And the first thing I wanted to say is that something we know about highly sensitive people is that we perform much worse in front of people. So you're going to have to excuse me if you probably had been with me at home, seeing how I practiced this presentation. I probably did better than I'm going to do today, but you're going to have to excuse I'm a highly sensitive person. So another thing that we know is that, you see, we need time to practice. And I needed to get the command, and it's something we didn't give each other the time to practice. We're just here and we are meant to know how to do things, and this is exactly what the population I work with are expected to do. They're expected to land in a foreign country to perform in a very challenging work at their best, no matter what the nervous system is like. So what I want you to kind of gain awareness of is that the population I work with, the international mobile community, is a growing population. We have more and more opportunities to work abroad, to go to different countries to perform. We have the opportunity to go to a different country, like myself here, to learn. So expatriation, it's something that is not exclusive to a very small group of people. It's becoming something that is going to become accessible to the majority of us. So acknowledging that high sensitivity, it's something that is in about 30% of the population, is important because of what I said yesterday. Whatever is good for a highly sensitive person is good for everybody, because we're just at the very end of a spectrum of sensitivity. Okay? So something we also know is that sensitivity actually correlates positively with openness to experience. Weird, right? You would expect high sensitive people to be those that are introverted, staying at home, trying to keep things the same way. Well, here I am. So we're not like that. We're actually very drawn toward new experiences, but we are also positively correlated with neuroticism. And what that means? Just a little reminder. Highly sensitive people are those that are deep processors. They're those that are highly empathic and highly aware of the subtleties around us. Well, all together, without the right tools, can become very overwhelming. So I just wanted you to put kind of in a little bit of a context here. We are talking about a population that is increasing. We're talking about a population that has a trait that is in the minority of people, but that the needs of those people are good for everyone. So I would like you to kind of put in all these projects and program into account mental health. So the reason why I use this word, vulnerable bravery, is because I would like to start the presentation with something very personal. And I'm glad that my partner here in the field of psychology is here, and she said how important it was to actually share things that are personal, to actually open up to other people the opportunity to also share their struggles. 6 years ago, I almost died. And I'm not here about talking about my personal experience. My personal experience is what led me towards research. Why do people don't get it? Why did I have to go through such a difficult transition and nobody understood that it was difficult? Because we are seen as those privileged, highly skilled expats that are given all the resources that were meant to be given, but we are not given mental health support. So I wanted to share with you something that I think we tend to forget, and is kind of the main core of this session, which are emotions. The emotions are the big invisible parts in transitions, in work positions, even in the confection of an environment. Like how many times we kind of pay attention to all those little details in our environment and we forget how they're having an impact on, for instance, on us. Something that was very triggering for me yesterday, we were talking about making beautiful environment, sensitive environment, and forgetting about the people that are going to live in it. Something that I know is that expats have a higher rate of divorce. And yet, if you look at the environments and the places where they're living, you would expect that they have the perfect environment. Big houses, big cars, a chauffeur, everything. Why do they divorce them? Isn't environment important? Yeah, environment is important. But if you're not feeling well, it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to end up leaving, okay? So I'm going to point up at a very specific part of this project of expatriation. As I was presented, I look into motherhood. Because the same way as expatriation is something that is here to stay, I'm afraid to say moms are too. We can't continue our species without moms. So we really need to take into account what is going on for them. And what we know about literature is that they are what they call the invisible expats. Incredible, right? Invisible. Why? Because when we move people abroad, we don't look into the whole unit. We'll look into the employee. We're again focusing on performance, focusing on the job has to be done well, the project has to end up well, because we paid a lot of money. We paid a lot of money to move all these people here. We paid a lot of money for the building to be created. Well, my client is the architect that you guys are moving around the world. This is my client. And he comes to me because he's not adjusted, because he hasn't been given the time to adjust to all the changes, because he hasn't given enough room to actually spend time with what I call their emotional anchors. Who are those? The families. They are the only part of the expatriation that remains the same. No matter where you take your employee, if you take them with their families are the same families if they go over the challenges and they have the tools for that. But we don't pay attention to them. We prepare them, yeah, vaguely culturally. We prepare them vaguely, kind of warning them about it's gonna be hard, but we're not there to support them. We are not there to actually confront daily basis challenges with them. So what I did, so what I did was to confront it from a theoretical framework that is sensory processing sensitivity. Why? Because it takes into account, I think, both aspects of what I'm talking about. The environment, the impact of the environment, and expatriation is a very rush and harsh environment, but also the person, also the biological trait and the biological differences that go with that person that is traveling around the world. Okay, so just a little reminder that this biological trait has individual differences, okay? So as we were saying yesterday, there is no such thing as a single highly sensitive person. It's a cocktail that comes with other traits and that also goes with other coping mechanisms, okay? What do we do to confront our challenges? So taking that into account and understanding that idea of differential susceptibility, I have the privilege to be working with Michael Plus in London, and what he told me when I said, you know what, I'm basing my research on this evidence. Highly sensitive people are much more sensitive to the environment, so what we know is that they may be more at risk of developing mental health problems, and we know expats also are more at risk of developing anxiety and depression, and if I put into the cocktail motherhood, a very sensitive neurobiological moment in life, well, I think we are at risk and we probably can't survive expatriation. And then he said, well, look into it and see what do they say. See what is their narrative, what is it that they come up with. Check for their coping mechanism, check for what it is that is helping them and what is not. So what I did, I started interviewing over 20 moms, those that are in those privileged expatriation conditions, okay, so highly skilled, and I started asking them about their process of adjusting to a new country and adjusting to becoming a mother in a new country, where they know nobody, where they know nothing, a little bit what you guys experienced during COVID. This one was my first post on social media when COVID hit it. You guys talked about many different things. I talked about welcome people to what expat mom experienced when moving abroad. Everything is new, you don't know the rules are changing, and you have nobody to ask information because you're alone. And most probably the only person that is also your emotional anchor is either at work or maybe already traveling. So I started asking them what was those things that they would do to actually cope with all these challenges. One of the things they told me was masking my emotions, because we feel shame of them. I cannot call my mom in South Africa and tell her that I'm miserable in Switzerland. Come on. First of all, I'm the one that left. How dare am I going to say I'm struggling? I'm not going to call my mom in South America, where I could have the aid of a maid, to tell her that I'm struggling in Barcelona. Come on, I'm in a developed country, and I'm again the one that decided to move abroad. So there are so many different challenges that people are not aware of that make the whole process much more challenging. But the truth is also that something those amazing highly sensitive moms share with me is, for instance, that they will prioritize their emotional balance. They will prioritize that over chaos, and we have data that says highly sensitive people do worse in chaos. Well, highly sensitive expat moms apparently have developed the ability of moving beyond chaos and prioritizing their emotional balance, what we call downtime. They will go and seek for downtime as something that is essential for their well-being. So that led me to what Michael Plus was suggesting. Okay, so maybe being highly sensitive is not a disadvantage, it's not a weakness, it's not something that puts us really at risk. We may have amazing opportunities there to actually deal with situation differently, because we are very good at understanding our thoughts, at understanding our needs. We are really creative and innovative. Because of our deep processing, we kind of prepare ourselves for things in advance, and we are also very aware of the subtleties in our environment. Now, okay, but if we are aware of all these changes, let me just remind you something. Expatriation is not traveling. Expatriation is much harder. It comes with a lot of grief. It comes with a lot of loss. And this is something that we have to acknowledge when moving people around the world. So acknowledging that they're not going to only land in an environment that is new, but they're going to be dealing with a lot of intense emotions. So the reality is that this environment can be dealt differently if we have the right strategies and we have enough coping strategies that come together with emotional intelligence that would help us to process all these events. So for study 2 and study 3, what I'm doing now is actually comparing different groups. So trying to see how much expatriation, so the proper context of expatriation, has an impact on this adjustment and on this well-being in motherhood, okay? Because I'm concentrated in this transition towards motherhood. But I'm also controlling between different levels of sensitivity and trying to create a theoretical adjustment models that is going to give us a little bit more clues of what are those specific coping strategies that help us adjusting in the context of expatriation. But what I'm convinced already is that if we take into account the need to care for the environment where those highly sensitive expats are landing and moving from, if we kind of give them this support that they need to transit a little bit more sensitively, is a win-win situation. Because creating an environment that creates that emotional validation, right? And also diversity validation. Like, you need more time for transition, you need an office that is less crowded of books, and you need less lads in your office. It's going to create that feeling of belonging in the employee. It's going to create the opportunity to reduce the stress. It's going to also give the opportunity for that person to grow much more from that experience, because expatriation gives us the opportunity to learn so much. But if we are overwhelmed, something that we know is that our brain is collapsed and anything that happens around us is not integrated. So creating that will optimize the experience of the whole unit, because if we take into account the sensitivity of both the mom and the employee, we can create a much more inclusive environment. It will then, of course, what my colleague was saying yesterday, maximize professional potential. That's true, because they're going to be at their best too. Because sensitivity is not exclusive to women. It's all across different genders and different cultures. So what we know is that if one of the partner is good, the other one is better too. And one of the main reasons for international assignment failure is the lack of adjustment of spouses. So promoting inclusivity is going to help us to kind of create that environment that allows highly sensitive people to perform better. And what I owe you to do is what my colleague was presenting as important, right, to create what she was calling employee assistant programs. I owe you to make it a priority. And I changing into therapy because I do believe that it has to be something that is throughout the whole process of expatriation. It's not something that you can prepare people through, because each process of expatriation is different. It's going to encounter different challenges from a personal perspective and from an environment perspective. So I owe you to embrace sensitivity, because by doing that and by understanding the impact of our environment, we can definitely do a world a better place for everybody, and this global mobility, an opportunity to grow and not necessarily a risk for challenge. Thank you.
Bravissima, un treno.
Excellent, you were really fast. Okay then. You are experts in vocational training, and or at least many of you, and experts in human resources, so you know what we're about to talk about. But I had never heard about this. Job crafting. Maybe, luckily, I didn't ask for a raise of hands, otherwise there would have been an embarrassing moment of silence. I asked my family members, 3 of whom are below 10, but also among work colleagues, and even in a training course that I recently attended, nobody knew what the job crafting was. So I'm very curious. I think we all are to listen to what it's all about with the presentation of Anka Onchoyo. I hope I pronounced your name properly. Apologies. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, and of course I will explain exactly what job crafting is and how we applied this concept in our research. But first of all, I would like to thank you for the introduction and to say that, as you said, my name is Anca Onchoyo and I represent Expert Psy from Romania, an organization that has an active role in advancing research in the field of psychology and in implementing solutions for highly sensitive persons. And our work hasn't started very early, but it started with our implementation of Emotion project in 2020. And after that, we developed a project that was called Highly Sensitive Module, Innovative Module in Human Sciences. And this one, Promotion project, which is held within this conference. The idea is that the first one approached the trait of high sensitivity in children, whereas the second tackled and approached the trait at adults, whereas the third addressed the employees. All right, and now I will move forward. And as the topic of this specific section within the conference is career coaching and counseling tools for highly sensitive persons in vocational settings, in transition and at the workplace, we will present a specific module, a specific procedure called job crafting, which aims to adapt the psychological profile of the individual with the demands of the job. And of course the question is, why is this important? And an answer is that effective career coaching or counseling represents a major concern both in the field of psychology and in the labor market. And what is important is that mismatches between psychological profile of an individual and the work he performs can be sources of tremendous internal conflict, impaired performance, and impaired subjective well-being. And this is why both organizations and individuals strive to reduce the gaps or discrepancies between them. And our research was in order to support highly sensitive people, and I will refer now at an idea that Elaine Aron developed in her book, Psychology and the Highly Sensitive Persons, in which she explains that they basically suffer from a prejudice, this time due to their temperament. And this is why our work and the work of the people supporting highly sensitive people is needed. So we particularly addressed a job crafting procedure in our research in order to see if there is a positive impact on the indicators of interest, which are the 3 that you can see on the slides. Internal conflict, impaired performance, and impaired subjective well-being. And as I will further detail, the research shows promising results. But first of all, before enter the content of our research, I would like to stress a few things about highly sensitive persons in order to understand better what is about and to better grasp the subject and to see it from a wider perspective. So, what is important is that it represents a temperamental trait and not a disease, as Elaine Aron stressed, and it's characterized by the acronym DOES, which stands for Depth of Processing, Overstimulation, Emotional Reactivity, and Empathy, and Subtle Stimuli. Also, it is a trait that is quite large, found in specific samples, for example, of population, as the occurrence can be 30% in specific areas. Okay, and highly sensitive persons tend to be less resilient in workplaces than their co-workers, but also they cope better than others when the environment is supportive and acknowledges their needs. Okay, and regarding highly sensitive people at work, I would like to mention that the research is rather scarce in this area, even if the research regarding high sensitivity in general increased a lot in recent years. And some results are not so encouraging, but part of them are very encouraging for highly sensitive people. And I would like to refer a study done by Evers and his collaborators, stressing that sensory processing sensitivity is negatively correlated with sense of coherence, comprehensibility, manageability, meaningfulness, and with self-efficacy. So basically with those indicators that are not connected with resilience and are connected with stress. And also SPS is positively correlated with alienation, negative affectivity, work stress, workload, emotional load, work displeasure, and need for recovery. And this is what allows us to say that sensory processing sensitivity basically is considered more a risk or a vulnerability factor rather than a resource or a protective factor. But this stands only for two parts of the subconstructs that that represents components of the construct of sensory processing sensitivity, because aesthetic sensitivity, for example, that does not follow this pattern of results. In fact, the opposite is true for aesthetic sensitivity. So we can state that aesthetic sensitivity as a subconstruct of the construct rather represents a protective and a resource factor in comparison with ease of excitation and low sensory threshold. And I will refer briefly now to another three studies. Bhakvini-Srivastava study found that highly sensitive people are more stressed at work, but actually they are seen as more productive by their managers. Mike Andreessen research found that turnover intentions in case of highly sensitive persons is higher for those working abroad, and they are likely to be sent overseas with important assignments. And the reason why this level is higher is stress. And he and his collaborator further concluded that if there is support for highly sensitive people in dealing with stress, the probability to be retained for their specific role is much more higher. Okay, as a consequence, because highly sensitive persons are described as different people in literature, of course, works that supports their specific needs, it was emphasized. And I give you here just 3 examples. The chapter Thriving at Work from the highly sensitive persons from Elaine Aron's book, Making Work Work for Highly Sensitive Person written by Barry Jaeger, and The Sensitive Person in the Workplace, a chapter that is found in Psychotherapy and the Highly Sensitive Persons. Okay, we choose a qualitative, our option was for a qualitative research and a case study design, N of 1 design, and we basically try to find out if a tool that is developed for general population can be an effective career coaching and counseling tool for highly sensitive persons. And the benefits listed for this job crafting protocol, let's say, are all connected directly or indirectly with our indicators of interest, that we set for this research. So our task was firstly to find out a highly sensitive person willing to be involved in a priori testing, in job crafting, and in a posteriori assessments. And we found a 42-year-old female hired on a job with IT profile in the field of justice. And we assessed her level of sensitivity both by using a scale, highly sensitive person scale short version, and both by trying to see the matching of the descriptors of the acronym DOES as they are listed in Elaine Aron's book. And after that, we also described co-founding variables, meaning those variables that are known to impact the results of the study and misleading the conclusions if the results of the study are due to them. So we defined self-esteem as a co-founding variable, because it is known that self-esteem impacts internal conflict, performance, and subjective well-being. And we did 2 measurements using satisfaction with life scale, the questionnaire of internal conflict at the workplace, mass/burnout inventory, and job satisfaction survey. And we also collected directed feedback from our subject for our indicators of interest. And the results are presented in this table. And as you can see, we registered positive progression for each of the indicators of interest. And of course, you may ask and wonder, why did we measure again the trait of high sensitivity? Because it's somehow counterintuitive that a temperamental trait can be subject of variation. And the answer is, we did that because there were studies, as it is the one done by Holm and his collaborators in Norway, which found that in case of patients with OCD exposed to exposure therapy, which is a specific type of intervention, the level of sensitivity decreased after the exposure. Okay, and as a conclusion, internal conflict was confirmed. The decrease of internal conflict was confirmed by direct feedback from our subject. And it is important to assess if the extrapolation of the results in our case study on the entire population can be supported. So further research is needed. And thank you very much for your attention. We have 2 slides with references, and thank you very much for your attention.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Andiamo velocissimi. Intervento della...
Very quickly, with Professor Monica Barilla of the University of Lublin. You have the floor.
Thank you for the pleasure to be a part of this great event. I would like to say some words about the part of the project that we are a leader, the FSA University is, and we have a great pleasure to cooperate all of you. So the title of the presentation is Toward Effective Career Management of Highly Sensitive Students. So we checked vocational interest of people with different level of high sensitivity, because we truly believe, and we know it from the research, that sensitivity is a dimension. So some of us are at the different part of this dimension, and it doesn't mean that it is good or bad. That's why I would like to say some words about the theoretical foundation that we heard before also, so I will skip it. Said really briefly about that the same results are coming from different places in the world, which means that researchers from different institutes have the same or close to the same goals, which also mean that this is the right direction of future research. So then some words about methodology, but the most important, I have 2 conclusions that I think might be crucial for the discussion after. So the concept of sensory processing sensitivity we talked before, which is important for theoretical development of environmental sensitivity, which is really close to our today's goal and yesterday also. Due to implication value, because this is very important. We have a lot of theories in psychology in different disciplines, but none of them, no, some of them also have, but this one have a great implication value, which means we can truly benefit from the result of research, and we also can easily adopt in this implication project like this one, for example. So individual with high sensitivity, like with high intensity of sensory processing sensitivity, we call them highly sensitive people. So we know so far that sensitivity may have a great influence in different area of life, especially those which maybe the activities might be influenced by the manifestation of the trait, and that's also the thing that we discussed before. You have seen this model, which were prepared by Greven and the colleagues, the researcher who are an expert in high sensitivity. And those 3 theories, those 3 concepts have the same goal. Like all of them said that responsivity is not only for a negative environment and negative stimuli, it is also for the positive environment and positive stimuli. And the second is that minority of population is sensitive, highly sensitive. So those 3 models also said something like that, that researchers from different parts of the world, from United States, from Europe, have concluded very similar results. So our object for this preliminary study, it means that we need to go deeper to confirm the first results, was to highlight the importance of this trait and other personality traits from so-called Big 5 temperament personality model for the career development. So the question was, do our personal and temperamental trait has something in common that about our vocational interested? So we checked in 438 high school students participated in a study. There was about 60% of girls and 40 of boys, age 14-18, which means this is typical age of high schooler in Poland. We also ask them, do they have some impression about the future? Like, do they know what do they want to do in the future, in their future professional life? So 62% of them said, yes, more or less, I have an impression that I know. So what about the rest of 40%? Being honest, if I would ask my students, do they know what they want to do in the future, I think that the results will be similar. So we use the Polish adaptation of highly sensitive person scale with 10 questions, a Polish version of Big 5 markers, which is 20 questions, and youth vocational interest questionnaire, which has a short name of MWOKOS. So it was, this questionnaire was based on Holland approach, probably well known. So really briefly about the numbers, they are quite low when we think about the correlation, but they are showing the direction of future analysis. So so-called high sensitivity correlates with being realistic in a professional life, but with minus. So I don't want to work with subjects. Also correlates with innovative interest, which is something that we expect. Correlate with artistic interest, and this is some myth I would like to set then afterwards. And it is also a minus with management interest. So does it mean that high sensitivity has nothing in common with entrepreneurship skills? Okay, so how is with girls? Quite similar. Also girls which higher sensitivity are more interested in innovation, they are more interested in art, and they are less interested in management. What about boys? Boys also are more interested in innovation and more interested in art, but we cannot see this correlation when it's about management. So we checked this using the regression model and checking what percentage or variability is the most important for every separate analyst vocational interest. So going one by one, the realistic interests are explained by 20% of temperamental and personality trait, mostly about emotional stability and intellect. So if I feel that I'm stable in my emotion, I really would love to work with subject, not with people. The innovative interests are explained in 5%, mostly by intellect and high sensitivity. Artistic ones are explained in 16%, mostly by extraversion, emotional stability with minus intellect and high sensitivity. And social interested are explained in 21%. Close to that are management interested in 29, mostly explained by extraversion and intellect. So what about methodological interest, like conventional one, but also thinking about working with people especially? So they are explained in 49%. Mostly by consciousness, the beta here is 0.6, almost 7, and the rest of the threat was really also important. So we checked this out, like methodological interest, checking if the model was significant. It was. So what are the results? What are the conclusions? It will be really easy to say, okay, if you are highly sensitive, you are delicate, vulnerable, that's why you should go to art. But maybe artistic interests are the way for self-regulation, are the way to deal with emotions. So that's the way how to express emotion, not to prepare future professional life. So personality and temperamental traits may lead to career choices, like my feeling and everyone around told me, you are so sensitive, you should be an artist. So to lead the career choices, which might be rewarding, which I feel that I'm extrovert, I like people and want to share with them everything what I feel right now. But giving them a sense, like for commitment, because I feel that this is in line with my personal interest and vocational interest, but also it my high rates of professional achievement, if it's really fit well my personality to work I gonna do in the future. Likewise, compensatory choices, like plans based on misconception, misunderstanding, may determine the professional development in a wrong way. So primary analysis of feature relates to reactivity to environmental stimuli may contribute to improving professional well-being or not. So artistic interest in this case related to emotional stability also. The choice may be a self-regulation strategy, but what about management competences? Is it also a consequence of myth that if you are sensitive, it will be not a good place for you be in charge of? Because we also, from many years, have this, we think that in charge should be a person who is like a rock, doesn't change, is really harsh, put a time and task pressure. But what if not? Thank you very much for my research team. I would like to invite you to our media on all our 3 projects and follow our work of our High Sensitivity Europe group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Always enlightening. Now, I've called all of you professors because you have all been extraordinary. So perhaps apologies for not being perhaps accurate in your qualifications. So we're supposed to have a break. But if there are any questions, maybe it's best to have the questions immediately. Maybe one question?
Okay. I would like to know is there any study about a possible correlation between hemispheric lateralization and high sensitivity?
Sorry.
Hemispheric lateralization of the brain.
Realization of
lateralization.
Lateralization.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. There are some preliminary research from University of California. They checked what part of the brain is more active, and it is close to those skillet individuals. So that's why they assume that for many years highly sensitive people were described in papers as high ability, like talented one. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Possiamo andare in pausa, grazie.
I think we can move on to our break. Thank you.